Welcome to Red Sox Digest, the only show where pain, sarcasm, and a dash of hope collide nightly like a Trevor Story strikeout. We cover every loss, every meltdown, and yes, even the rare win, with brutally honest takes and zero front office fluff. Subscribe today at RedSoxDigest.com or risk being left out in the cold like a home game in April. And now, here's the crew at Red Sox Digest.
Good evening, sports fans, and welcome to another edition of Red Sox Digest. I am your host tonight, Jim Dalfino, the only man who schedules his naps around the Red Sox and still can't stay awake past the fifth inning. Some people tell me running this podcast makes you seem like a magician because I can make your attention span disappear. Joining me tonight is Nick Face. Nick is basically the human version of Red Sox Twitter, loud, fiery, and allergic to the irrational thoughts written by most of them. He hates losing so much that if the Sox drop a game at Fenway, he'll personally type 47 rage tweets at some poor Orioles fan who just wrote "good game." He's the guy telling fire Cora in the first inning after a called third strike. If Fenway Park had a most likely to argue with a hot dog vendor award, Nick would be holding the trophy and tweeting the vendor's ERA splits against lefties. And also joining me is the illustrious Thayer Doyle. Thayer's a principal, which makes sense because we can always use another adult in the room, and Red Sox fans on Twitter basically act like middle schoolers. He spent his school days telling kids to stop throwing things in the hallway, then spends his throwing fits at anyone who says Jaren Duran is clutch. As an Irish American, the only thing greener than his lawn is his timeline after a Sox bullpen collapse. Honestly, if Fenway Park had detention's office, Thayer would be the dean, and his first order of business would be giving every Yankees fan a week of in-school suspension for crimes against baseball. Let's get into it. Your Boston Red Sox are now 72-60, comfortably 11 and a half games ahead of the Orioles, who are 60-71 and basically clinging to the bottom of the division like a wet sock stuck in your dryer. Roman Anthony started things off by smacking a homer in the first inning that traveled so far it probably needed a passport. Brennan Bernardino started this game like the quiet designated driver of the bullpen, got his inning done, no mess, no drama, one hit, two strikeouts, and left like he had an early morning meeting. Richard Fitz, on the other hand, showed up with the hold my beer energy, walked 3, coughed up 3 earned runs, but also struck out 6. It was like watching someone juggle flaming swords. You're impressed and terrified at the same time. Baltimore even went up 3-1 thanks to Cowser again, because apparently he was the only Oriole who remembered they were being paid to play baseball tonight. And I'm sitting there like, are we really losing to the Orioles? This team hasn't been irrelevant since Blockbuster Video. Then came Mr. Clutch high leverage himself, Jaren Duran. Fifth inning, 2 guys on, and he launches a 3-run bomb that flipped the scoreboard faster than a drunk uncle flipping burgers at your cookout. Suddenly, it's 4-3 Sox, and that's how it stayed. The rest of the Sox lineup, they contribute about as much as the guy holding the foul pole, just standing around existing. In the end, Boston pulled out a scrappy, messy, sarcastically perfect 4-3 win over the Orioles team that just can't seem to figure out what sport they're playing. Let's start tonight off with Nick Face's Word of the Day. Nick Face's Word of the Day is brought to you by the Yankee Stadium Squirrel, who runs the bases faster than Carlos Stanton can pull his hamstring.
We're going to go back to a nickname of a certain player that he loved last season with. But I felt like after that 3-run home run, we had the return of the big Swole. Swole is my word of the night. That is Jaren Duran's nickname outside of the Wally head. But all in all, he teed up that ball, and it had my head launched on it and annihilated that thing to give us a 3-run home run. How comical after the tirade we all went on last night about the frozen snowman stuck up at the plate last night in New York who couldn't do one thing with the bat and give the Red Sox anything to cheer home about. So congratulations to Duran. But there is one little knock I have to say on this. Was this a high leverage situation, folks? Nope. It was low. Not going to take it away from him. It was very much needed. We need to see that style from him. But I also want to say this also reiterates my point last night that I was trying to say, in that I can't stand the approach that Duran has, where he has to swing out of the yard every time that he's up with his approach. It is not the approach that I like for him. The approach I like is when he goes the other way, goes opposite field, drops the ball down the line, and uses his wheels. Now he's going to have the ego the size of the world. Oh, look at that. Look how far that thing went. I can do this every night. And that's where we get in trouble. So I hope that swollenness in him lights a fire in him and gets this team clicking offensively. Swole. You heard it here.
Thayer, your opening reactions to tonight's victory.
I'm very pleased. I thought that the bullpen especially did a very nice job since we were working it throughout the beginning. One thing, Nick, I'm going to say that it was a medium leverage, simply for the fact that we already had a squander earlier on in the game. We had a man on second
I'll give it
base
to you.
and didn't move him over at all. In this situation, we had a man on first and second. We got an out without moving anybody. So we were sitting in another situation where we had to get a hit to drive in a run, and he took advantage of it. I do agree, however, it was a hanging splitter that he got very lucky on, but he still did what he's supposed to do. I agree 100%. When he homers, I worry because he does sort of get into that homer sort of mode all the time. I He is so much more
Like that.
effective when he is going the other way. When he is working from center field to left field, going gap to gap, that's when he's the most successful. Um, However, in this one situation, I do agree with you 100% though. We've seen it the last couple days. When he gets up with a man in scoring position, he is trying to jack everything, whether it's 0-2, 1-1. I'll give him credit with this one. The count was 1-0, and you got a hanging splitter. That's when you just try to obliterate it. And he did what he's supposed to do. So he gets the credit for that one. By 100% agree with everything else you're saying. I think it's a good win. I think it's an important win, especially how the Orioles sort of handled them in Boston the last time. We did a nice job for the most part of working our at bats. Still, two opportunities where we needed to put a ball in play to score and run, and they didn't do it. The squander in the ninth inning didn't come back to haunt them. I thought it might, but they did all right with that. Uh, Richard Fitz pitched well outside of that one inning, and that's the issue that concerns me with a lot of the relievers that are coming in. They're not getting ahead. Those runs scored because he walked two men and hit a batter. He gave up one hit in the inning, and the Orioles scored two. They probably could have had more. The next ball was hit extremely hard, but thankfully it was right at Hamilton. So we're going to take the win. I'm pleased with it. We're 4-1 over the last five. That's a nice start. So positivity, that's where we're at.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, it definitely was a win of two major offensive pieces to this team. Jaren Duran with 3 RBIs, and then Roman Anthony. I'll start with you there on Roman Anthony, leading off the game with a home run. Now the youngest Red Sox to lead off a game with a home run. Your thoughts and reactions to Roman Anthony's start?
I think he's an outstanding player. I think he has all the tools to be a very, very successful major league hitter. I'm not going to say he's a 5 tool player. I don't think he's great defensively. I don't think he can throw as well as we would like, but who cares? The fact that this man is going to hit, he's going to hit for power as soon as he starts to bulk up a little bit more and mature in age. I think the Red Sox absolutely have an offensive star in the making. Ironically, he was what, 2 first 3. The at bat I was most disappointed is, he made an out. He had a man on second base with no outs, and he couldn't advance the runner. He strikes out. So it's the little things, but that I think that's a positive sign that I expect him to be able to do what is necessary in any situation. The other day when he came up in the ninth inning, we needed him to jack the ball, and he does. You know, we needed him to come up today and set the tone. Boom. So I think offensively, he has all the talent and all the tools to be I'm not going to say a replacement for Devers because the Red Sox screwed that up. I'm going to say he has got all the tools to be the next middle of the lineup dominant hitter for the Red Sox.
Nick Face, your same question to you. Your reactions to Roman Anthony's start today and his leadoff home run.
The one thing I wanted to say before the Roman Anthony thing was sometimes when you're on these pods, depending upon if you know Jim or if you know Thayer, I learned something about Thayer tonight. I learned that he's a high school, middle school principal. So now I need to make sure for myself that I am always on my best behavior because I never once was sent to a principal's office in my school career. So I'll be an angel from here on out. Now,
It's only an assistant. Don't give me too much credit.
oh, well, I've heard other rumors that it's going to get advanced. So no. But anyways, I want to go on the Roman Anthony side now. That's one person that I have all the faith in the world with the development on what he's going to be. And what I mean by that is I feel exactly as you do, Thayer. I feel like this is going to be our, I'm not going to say superstar because that's when it gets you in trouble. He is going to be the next best thing that the Red Sox have. And what you're seeing here is a guy who is way beyond his years in maturity. I really hope that Roman Anthony's maturity can like rub off on Jaren Duran because I think that those two putting them together, something could click there. Like Roman Anthony just jumping into the saddle here, leading off, getting a home run, but just doing things with a way where it just nothing phases him. It just never seems to phase him. He's making adjustments. He's learning the league. He's learning how to hit. We're starting to see some power now in the past couple weeks with Roman Anthony. Beforehand, we weren't seeing as much of the power. Now we're starting to see that here a little bit. But here's the difference between him and like a Duran. I think with Roman Anthony with that home run, his approach is going to stay the same. He's still going to try and drive the ball, not out of the yard, but to do something impactful when he's up at the plate. Duran's just, why didn't I hit that gone? Oh, there's another one. Oh, long fly ball. Oh, here's a strikeout. So that's where the infectious of Roman Anthony, I would love to see him get, in a way, infected in a good way with good maturity, learning how to do things, adapting with adversity. And I feel like Anthony can be that guy for so many of these players on this team, along with, of course, Alex Bregman. You know, with putting those two together, you should be able to get the best out of your players with a 1-2 pair of a Roman Anthony and an Alex Bregman.
So my take on Roman Anthony is similar to what you guys just kind of said as well. I understand, Nick, you want to pump the brakes and not give him, his.
Just the
Uh,
superstar title.
yeah, I get it. It's very hard to kind of pump the brakes on it because we haven't had anybody like this since Mookie Betts. And one of the differences with Mookie Betts was he was not touted as a given superstar, a perennial all-star, perennial Gold Glove, Silver Slugger winner. He came up as a second baseman. He was a late draft pick. I don't know what his was, fourth round or seventh, something like that. He just didn't have the aura and the intensity of his arrival like Roman Anthony has, being again the number one prospect in baseball and all the hype that goes along with that. I want to believe in that because I want to be able to have the next guy that's going to be the franchise cornerstone. And to Nick's point, I think it's very important that the Red Sox bring Bregman back. He is such a great fit on the Red Sox. He's got that dirt dog mentality. His defense is, I don't know about you guys, but I think it's the best since Adrian Beltre's 1 year here. It's that close. I loved Kevin Youkilis, but he wasn't even close to being what you're seeing with Bregman and what you saw with Beltre. And, if they can somehow this offseason get another impact middle of the order bat so that they can keep Anthony Bregman at the top of that lineup, man, oh man, you've got the makings of a really good lineup, at least the first 3 or 4 for a number of seasons. But I certainly hope that, this trend continues with him. I wanted to switch gears a little bit, talk a second about Connor Wong. Connor Wong was 2 for 4 today. Connor Wong also is 4 for 8 in his last 7 games. And he is now in the month of August batting 257 for the month, which is frankly pretty respectable for, a catcher, whether it's your primary or secondary. Nick, what is the turnaround here with Connor Wong? Do you think he's figured something out? Has Pete Fatsy worked with him to unlock something? It seems like we're getting some good offense out of Wong of late.
Word of the day number 2 today, confidence. He's got it. And I think it started with seeing a little bit more playing time as well. Navarez obviously has been not that great for a while now. So I think the Red Sox are trying to piece this together and make sure, number one, Navarez doesn't get overworked, because we know what happens with that. When he gets overworked, I think there's added pressure that comes with the territory where he's never carried a huge workload like this before. And he's a rookie. Let's also remember that. Connor Wong's been in the league since what? 21, 2022. So
Yeah,
he's been around here for a while.
he was a
It
rookie at
was a
21.
21. That's what I thought. It was only a matter of time before something started to click with him. Let's not forget that this was our starting catcher last season. I think what happened here is the injury to start off the season tailspin this out of control for him. And now he's trying to fight back. Number one, getting healthy. Number two, becoming the backup. That was probably a shocker for him after what he was traditionally getting used for. And now trying to figure out a balance, whether it's Navarez, he's going to catch 3 out of the 7 days, and Wong's going to catch 4 out of the 7. Who knows what they're going to do with it? But I do think you're starting to see a little bit more of a rotation here. And I'm okay with that, because we've already seen what happens with Navarez with the heavy workload. And it's the risk of injury as well, too. I think they're trying to manage his innings a little bit here and not get him super hurt. I feel like he's dinged up. He's been a battler out there, and he is a gamer, and I appreciate everything that he's done for this team. But catching is one of the most grueling positions there are in baseball, and you need solid depth. I mean, look at the years where you had Jason Veritek and Doug Mirabelli as your crew, or when you had who was another pair that we had? We had
Sandy Leone.
Sandy
Ross
Leone
and
for a while,
Saltalamacchia.
and Saltalamacchia and Ross. That's exactly right. So you got to have production out of your backup in some sort of way. And I give the guy kudos for figuring it out, getting some confidence, and getting his game back, because it was an utter disaster here for a while. We were really at the point where you might need to move on here. We were at the point come the All-Star break. Hey, let's give Christian Vasquez a call. And boy, did that reek of desperation.
Yeah, it sure did. Thayer, similar question to you, just kind of rephrased a little bit differently. 2 for 4 tonight, obviously scored a run. Is Connor Wong back? Can we rely on him moving forward? Because we're going to need some production out of a backup catcher here.
I don't know if we can rely on him. I think we have to rely on him. I think he's taking, like Nick was said, he's taking the confidence that he has. He's using that to his advantage. He's got an opportunity here. He has a huge opportunity to revert back to what he was last year. I don't think he's going to be the 300 hitter that we saw at the beginning of the year last year, but if he can become someone who is no longer an automatic out, because even at his worst times last year, he was putting up competitive at bats, and that was what was missing this year. So if we can get him to put in competitive at bats, he's going to make it easier for Cora to sit Narvaez to get him the rest that he needs. And I think we need to give Cora credit. We have been hammering on Wong all season long. We've been talking about, just like Nick said, Vasquez needs to get in here. What's going on? I distinctly remember we were on a podcast
We
here a
were.
couple weeks ago, and Cora had said, I think his swing is starting to come along. He was praising Wong, continuing to praise Wong. And we're like, what are you doing? What's wrong with you? That is the beauty of Alex Cora. That is why he is good at what he does. He understands his players. He never gives up on them. Even if he's sitting there feeling like we are, like, what is this trash that I have to deal with sometimes? He can never say it because he understands just how important confidence is in the psyche of these players is for them to be productive. He never gave up on this man, at least publicly, and I'm sure he didn't give up on this man individually. And that is what he's now starting to reap the benefits of that work. We hammered him. "What's wrong with you? What are you doing? You're a moron. I can't believe you're saying that." And now we're sitting here. Nick Bass is saying, I have to give Nick,
I'm
I have
smiling.
to give Long
I'm
credit. You
smiling.
know, we're smiling at what he's
I'm
doing.
humble.
Is that is why this game is the best there is, because it is a huge span of time and there is so much going on that you can be an absolute hero at one time and then look dreadful the next and come right back around and vice versa. I sort of joked about it. Anthony hit a home run and then he had a massive hit with his third at bat. I'm upset because he struck out and didn't move a man from second to third. That's how baseball works. You're going to fail 7 out of 10 times and you have to learn how to deal with it. And that is what makes a team and players good to great. You're always going to struggle. And that's what I've been talking about all year long. We have a bunch of kids, most of them, especially we talk about Campbell. Campbell does not, prior to this year, didn't know what failure was on a baseball field in any level. Heck, Bregman didn't know what failure really was on any level. He was winning titles, he was winning championships, winning pennants. He comes here and he sort of sees it. And that's what marks good teams, bad teams, and great teams. How resilient you are when the chips are down. And that is one thing to this Red Sox team's credit, that no matter how ugly it got, they have always managed to come right back to it. A week ago, oh, we were devastated. They lost to the Orioles. This team sucks. I can't believe they're going to do anything. What do out? They take advantage of the Yankees throwing the ball all over the yard in game one. They win that. Oh, they come out and Bayo throws a gem, game two. Out we come with, our ace in game three. And now, oh, I can't believe we lost game four. What's wrong with these guys? Because the Yankees actually hit the home runs that we always talk about. What happens today? Anthony shows up, ding, home run. Let's change the narrative. Oh, the Red Sox give up a couple runs. He's walking the ballpark. I can't believe this. This guy sucks. Then Fitz turns it around. And next thing you know, the Iceman cometh and hits the 3-run home run. And suddenly we're in a much better position. So they're young, they're inconsistent, they're infuriating at all the same time, but they are resilient. And that is a key to, I think, them probably making the playoffs now.
Yeah, a lot to unpack there. The bottom line with Connor Wong, you mentioned about Cora staying with his guys. He's the only guy I can remember that he did and was Pablo Reyes when he said he's not an everyday player when he was brought in. But I think there was a lot of issues between him and Heim Bloom anyway. But I understand. Part of me, understands what you're saying, but you look at yesterday with Anthony, he had not the greatest of games, comes back today 2 for 4. And this is why, to the point that you and I have discussed in the past, it's called a batting average, right? It's the average of the whole season. And this is why I have a lot of trouble with some of these nerd stats because, they take stuff and create things that, are kind of like out of thin air. But at the same time, I think, if we can get a little bit more out of Wong offensively so that, like you said, he's just not an automatic out anymore, that's going to be the key to being able to turn over that lineup a little bit more. And the same thing can be said with David Hamilton as well. 0 for 4 again tonight, but, if he could kind of get going in some way and keep Raphael in center field, because let's face it, you look at the splits on Raphael, and I brought this up, I think, either earlier this week or last week. His splits with him playing second base have really been pathetic. And so hopefully we change that around. Just another note talking about Richard Fitz, which you brought in. 4 innings pitched, 3 hits, 3 earned runs, 3 walks, 6 strikeouts. Not the greatest of showings today. Came in, as the bulk guy and not a starter for whatever reason. I don't know if it's just the Gunnar Henderson situation in the first. Probably was, but at the same time, leaves with an apparent injury. He looked at his forearm immediately after throwing that pitch, and I said right away, this is looking like, probably a UCL issue. Now they did make the statement that it could be a bicep strain, which is basically a sigh of relief for Richard Fitz. There, I'll start with you. Richard Fitz, what's your take on him, his performance today, and, what do you think is going to happen if his injury is mild?
I think the his performance today was admirable. I think he came in. It's been a while since he's been on the mound for the Red Sox. He hung that curveball, gave up the home run. Suddenly he's sort of been a little dejected. That next inning, the walks and the wildness, that is something that he really has to avoid. But then he managed to calm itself down. He got through the next two innings, kept the team within striking distance. They got the big home run. I like his makeup. I like his stuff. I think he needs to become a little bit more consistent with it. Unfortunately, he's had such sporadic appearances in the major league with these injuries that I don't necessarily know he's going to be of much help this year with the time that we have left. I hope it's not something major, but I really don't think he's going to be of much use because he's going to have to get shut down for at least 2 to 3 weeks just to recover from this. And by the time he ramps back up, he's not going to be of much use to this team, I don't think, which really means that there's one of two ways that this team is going to go. They're either going to go back to Bueller and bring him back in, which he's a professional and he's a veteran, so he's not someone who's going to take that demotion and just kind of sit on it. I think he'll come back and be okay. Or they say, "We don't trust you at all, Bueller. You're staying in the bullpen." And that means there's going to be one or two guys. It's going to be the Harrison kid. Do we finally find out if we got anything in this trade, or do they go with Tolley? That might be their next one. My guess is it'll be Harrison before Tolley because I really don't think they want him up here in any large extent because they're just trying to conserve his innings. Maybe down the stretch we might see him in a sort of David Price role when he was with the Rays, where he'd come in and sort of pitch an inning or two. But the difference with that was the Rays didn't have many lefties out of the bullpen, so he was their main lefty out of the bullpen. The
Correct.
Red Sox, on the other hand, have nothing but lefties coming out of their bullpen. So I don't know if he will sort of be that guy they're going to use in the high leverage innings or not. My guess is it's going to be Harrison. I think he's going to be the guy we see first.
Unfortunately, I do too. I don't know if I have a lot of confidence in Harrison. Totally, obviously, is something that, strikes you under the Christmas tree a little bit. I'd rather see him, but to your point about the lefties, it makes sense. Again, there's a couple arguments to be made here. Number one, if he can get right-handers out and left-handers out, what difference does it make? The other thing is that it's at the end of the season. It's maybe a September call up. Do we wanna throw him into the fire of a pennant race like that? Can he handle it? Is that gonna do something to him psychologically? We have no idea. Do we wanna put that stress on him to start his career? I don't know. The Red Sox have to be able to figure that one out. Same can be said with Harrison too. At this point, if Fitz is down, I don't wanna see, to your point when you're talking about Bueller, I don't wanna see him again start for this team. I don't think it's the right thing to do. It's very hard to demote a guy and then turn around and say, "Oh, we're gonna put you back into the rotation." Kinda like what they did, I think, with Nicky Schmooches over there. I don't know. I think in my heart of hearts, it probably will be Harrison, but Tolley would be the way to go if you really say to yourself, "I'm trying to win, and I wanna do everything I can to win." I think he would be the better choice. Nick Face, your reactions to those comments.
I had 2 points. Point number 1, we should be talking about the Red Sox with this injury to Richard Fitz tonight because they have catastrophically ruined this guy for a month and a half now. He was up, then he was down, then he was shut down. Guy hasn't pitched. So what are you doing with this guy? Like, you're asking for a Tommy John surgery. You're asking for injury right here. And I got to give them shame on that. I really do. This could be a sigh of relief on Richard Fitz right now with not being super serious. I did listen to the post game on Nesson afterwards, and I could see the body language from Richard Fitz. I looked into that, and he looks very optimistic and more positive than I thought. A guy coming out of the game, pointing at his arm, saying, "Oh crap, what am I going to do?" So we may have dodged a bullet here because, yes, I would like Richard Fitz as another depth piece. But to count on that particular player to be a stabilizer in your rotation is ridiculous. I was not happy last night. You saw the live reaction to me when I said on air, Bernardino is your opener. You heard it, you saw it, you laughed, you probably cried, whatever. I was not happy, and I still wasn't happy with it. You survived tonight, you got that win. Tonight's ball game, whether we liked it or not, guys, deserved to be Kyle Harrison's start. We wasted an opportunity here tonight in seeing what could have happened with him. Who knows? We can't play the guessing game here right now. But you specifically skipped his whole Worcester thing yesterday. He had every opportunity to be up here, but yet you had more faith in Bernardino and Fitz, who hadn't pitched in, was it 2.5 weeks? That's just insane. I know they throw on the side. I get it, but these guys need game action. It was cruising for a bruising tonight, and they really did escape Dodge tonight with the victory. And we'll see what happens as the news goes on with Richard Fitz, because we would hate to see anything bad happen to him. We don't want to take any more pitching depth away from this team.
The other thing with Fitz too is you talk about pitching depth and, what we might need going down into, the end of August and September. The other thing is I don't want to see any kind of major injury to him because I don't know what this offseason looks like. They've got a lot of guys that are bait, okay? I'll call them bait. You've got Harrison, you've got Fitz, you've got Tolley, you've got who there's a couple other guys.
Chriswell, you could even put Chriswell into
You
that
Chris,
category.
whatever you wanna do. So, I don't know what their plans are in terms of looking to acquire another piece, and if they're gonna look for a pitcher, an acquiring team is most likely gonna want pitching in return. So, it's not out of the realm of possibility that a guy like Richard Fitz could be a trade chip come this offseason. So we'll see how this plays out. Hopefully, the best for him. We really don't want him to be in an injury state and, potentially be a guy like Mayer that's not going to be much of a trade chip should they decide to look that way. I want to spend about 30 seconds just on Masataka Yoshida really quickly. Um, Masataka Yoshida, 2 hits tonight. I don't know how to take this guy this season. I kind of get irritated every time I see him in the lineup. He's batting, let's see, it's left-handers against right-handers. He's batting 216 against right-handed pitching and 273 against left-handed pitching. It's completely against the odds of physics here. It's 171 at home, 273 on the road. I just don't know how much more life this guy's gonna get. I understand he got 2 hits, but is this the best lineup, Nick, having him in there? Or should we just look to see another way to manage this team?
Jim, you're not going to like what I have to say, but yes, it is him in the lineup. And here's the reason why. The reason why is because at least the guy, whether it's a slow roller over to second base, is going to make contact, doesn't strike out that much. So that's an important piece if you got to look at it. I am not a Yoshida fan. I'm going to make that crystal clear to you. But your guys that you're trying to count on that have become somewhat of an everyday commodity, Romy Gonzalez has had a horrible last 3 weeks. Cedane Rafaela, what the heck happened to you after you hit that mammoth walk-off home run? Like, did you fall off the green monster? I come back to life, please, because it's awful. Duran. I mean, the show as the show goes on and on and on and on here with all the inconsistencies here, and Yoshida is a part of that as well too. But at least I can chalk up somewhat of a guy that can make contact. I don't know if I can say that against Sedan Rafaela or a Duran or even Romy Gonzalez types right now. Thank goodness we have Nate Lowe. I know it's at least we have a professional first baseman. He doesn't light the world up on fire, but I'll give an opportunity for that, and we don't have to stomach Abraham Toro anymore. So we're kind of getting there, Jim. We're kind of, but yeah, you do need to roll with Yoshida, and that is really, really painful for me to say that. I think I need to go check myself or something.
There, 30 seconds on Yoshida.
Like Nick said, you have a team that is made up of young kids and inconsiderate, not inconsiderate,
They
inconsistent.
are.
Yeah, they are inconsiderate to our health. There's no doubt about that. But inconsistent role players. Today, as we're sitting there watching Hamilton come up to bat in the ninth inning, I'm sitting there, pinch hit for him, put in somebody. You need somebody. I'm like, the only guy you have as a right hander is Narvaez, and he's probably about as effective right now as you or I. I'm like, "Who's on the bench?" They have nobody. There's 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 no one that Cora can turn to that
Nate
can
Eaton,
sort of exactly. That's exactly the problem.
our buddy
You know,
Nate, bat
and
fifth yesterday there. Bat fifth, and you can't put
I
him in the
know.
lineup today? Really?
I know, and he's batting 5th against the and that's the problem with the roster construction. You have lefties who can't hit righties, you have righties who can't
Yep.
hit lefties, you have some righties who hit lefties very well, but they've been playing so often that they're no longer capable of it because basically you have guys that are probably at best 50% ball players on a year to basis. So, 162 games. If they play 81 games, you're lucky. If they go to 90, they get exposed. And that's what we've done to Romy Gonzalez and to Ref Snyder. And that's what we were doing to Toro. And that's what we're doing with Yoshida. And that's what we're doing with and everybody on the team is what they're doing that to. And I'm
Mhm.
sorry I'm going more than 30 seconds, but that's the problem. And that's what Cora has to do. He's got to play some sort of, magician where it's like, who do I trust today? Okay, yes, I'll go with Yoshida. And this piece, we had 7 hits today. Wong, oh my God, had 2. Yoshida, are you kidding me? Had 2. Anthony, okay, that makes sense. He had 2. And the other one was our boy, the Ice King Duran with the bomb.
King.
4 of the 9 people in your lineup had all of your hits.
Yeah.
That's just what it comes down to sometimes.
Look what Yoshida does to us. It turns a 30-second statement here into a bashing session.
A diatribe on Breslow
Oh
in the front
God.
office.
Yeah. Couple comments from some of our listeners. Eric Giorgio says, we're getting Abreu back soon, which would be good, and also Ref Schneider. It sounds like they're not too far away, which would be good. So hopefully it can isolate some of this additional Yoshida crap. And
Ref Snyder is likely back Wednesday, I heard,
okay,
and Abreu is next week.
next week. Okay.
Yeah.
So it'll be interesting what kind of corresponding move they'll make. I would assume the password is probably going to have to get changed, and they'll probably have to do a two-figure authentication and send him to his email address, and we'll have to
You're gonna
reset
hurt
it.
yourself, just know.
Yeah, I know. Yeah,
Yeah, just move
I'll,
along.
I'll see myself out. I did that on purpose anyway.
Mhm.
Dave DePerry,
Yeah.
I'll agree with you on that. He's in the number 3 hole. His approach has changed a little, still was a great at bat. I mean, anytime you can hit a 3-run home run, it's a great at bat. I agree with you on that. But I'm still not really sold on Jaren Duran's season at this point. Moving along, we will move on to our dugout dipshit segment.
Oh, we got a lot of them.
And now it's time for everyone's favorite segment, the Dugout Dipshits.
Dugout Dipshits brought to you by the Dipshits of Twitter. These are people that make a lot of different statements that basically prove they don't follow baseball that well. We'll start off with one of our buddies here, Sox Fanatic. Sox Fanatic said, we just needed to win the series in the in the Yankee series. And it's not enough, Sox fanatic. The reality is that you are facing a team that is playoff bound. You are trying to compete against them for a position in the wild card. You may even be considering the American League East. You need to win as many games as you possibly can. That's the goal of baseball, is to win games. I understand winning series is great, but when you blow as many games as the Red Sox have throughout the season on stupid plays and bad defense and games that should have been in the win column that were not, you're running out of chances. And you want to put the Yankees as far behind you as you possibly can. And I'll tell you, Thayer will attest to this. Watching Red Sox Yankees baseball for over 40 years, the two of us, you never count out the Yankees. And it's a big difference from winning 3 games versus 4, because you pick up 2 in the standings or 4 in the standings. Big difference. So, unfortunately, we got to disagree with you on that one. Next dugout dipshit, Jeremiah. I was back and forth with this guy today for quite some time. I'm still trying to take my Advil from this one. Says we can't say Duran sucks because we have less hits, stolen bases, and ground balls as he does. So, according to Jeremiah, unless you've played professional baseball and have had better statistics than Jaren Duran, you can't criticize Jaren Duran, which means that just about every major league manager uh, in baseball right now, except maybe a select couple, should never criticize Jaren Duran, should never tell him how to hit. Pete Fatsy has no business showing Jaren Duran how to hit a ball. Neither does Jim Rice, neither does anybody else for that matter. Very select few. So congratulations to Jeremiah. You made yourself on the dugout dipshit list. And then finally, Nick, I'll give you this one. I know you were back and forth with our third dugout dipshit today, which was Ricky H24 on his synopsis of Jaren Duran. Go ahead, Nick.
Ricky was all big on Jaren Duran's war. That's what he was kept fighting Jim and I back and forth with. No matter what we said, no matter what we did, we kept saying, look at the Ks. Look at the high leverage. Look at the medium leverage. Look at the low leverage of Duran. It's in black and white, dude. No, his war is great. How can you be this ridiculous and saying that Duran sucks? Ba, 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 ba. I don't know about you guys, but I think the biggest cop out with this whole statistical information in baseball is war. I can't stand it. I think it's one of those stats that just needs to go away. It does. Wins against replacement, in case any of you nerds out there don't know what that the whole thing is. It's ridiculous. I look at the stat that we shared with you last night. What is this team doing when it matters? In the pressure situations, how are they delivering? What is their batting average in those situations? How many strikeouts do they have? How many hits do they have in those situations? Those are important to me. And then if you look pitching, I look at high leverage innings, like looking at Whitlock tonight, 3 Ks. We didn't really talk much on that, but those are big moments in your game. He's a gamer, he gets it done. I look at those sorts of things when it comes to analyzing and breaking down a baseball game. And Ricky, you're on another land, my friend. We tried to bring you back to planet Earth, but you just took a ride with the Jetsons into another land. I feel for you. Go let Elroy get you.
Yeah, just to kind of like add a little bit more to that, Nick, I put out a tweet in his response, and I said, he was really kind of clearly saying that he's the second best hitter on the team. And I said, if he was the second best hitter on the team, why is he batting 221 in high leverage games and 272 in low leverage games?
Yep.
Why is he 1 for 10 in extra innings? Why is he batting 200 from the eighth inning on? Why does he bat 236 against teams with winning records and 278 with teams against losing records?
It's the pressure.
Okay, that's exactly it. He's not good. I finished it off by saying he is not good in clutch situations because he's too preoccupied on jacking the ball instead of understanding the moment and hitting the ball appropriately to help the team. And that, my friends, was the entire segment that we had on Jaren Duran yesterday. But of course, this is Red Sox Twitter. And of course, they take everything out of context
Yep.
because that's just a way dugout dipshits are. Closing statements. Let's talk about tomorrow's game. We have, let's see. It is Giolito against Bradish on tomorrow. Wednesday is Bayo. It looks like, according to ESPN .com, there still is not a starter for the Orioles yet. And then finally, Crochet against Povich. Thayer, your closing statements, including the next 3 games against Baltimore, if you will.
I like the fact that we have the pitching lined up now. We're in a good spot for that one. I think Giolito is going to be fine. Bayo coming off of his last start. I look forward to these guys pitching well. Being in this ballpark is an interesting one. With left field being so massive, they can afford to put the ball over the plate to these righties and to sort of let them fly away to left field. You have to be more concerned with the lefties, but they handle those guys pretty well. So I have a feeling that we're going to do all right with this. Again, it just is going to come down to the offense. If the offense can put together solid at bats and stay focused, reduce the strikeouts, put the ball in play, we will be okay.
Nick, your final takeaways, including the upcoming 3 games.
I have a request, and here's my request. I request on Thursday that Garrett Crochet does not throw. I want Garrett Crochet to throw Friday against Paul Skeens. I
Yeah.
want to see Peyton Tolley here in a Red Sox uniform in Baltimore on Thursday. If it's not Peyton Tolley, I'll take Kyle Harrison. I do not want to see Garrett Crochet take the mound in Baltimore on Thursday. I want to make that loud and clear. If they do that, they shouldn't do that. But if they do that, I'm not going to be happy about that. I want to see that premier matchup at Fenway Park Friday night on their return home. I think that would be icing on the cake to be able to see a matchup like that. And you really do need your ace against Paul Skeens, because outside of that, I just don't see this team hitting worth a lick. If they score 1 run, I think we'll be lucky.
Yeah, the problem with the managerial and baseball of this generation as it was even 15, 20 years ago, they would want Pedro versus Clemens, and that's just not gonna happen anymore. So, while we can request and want that, and I think that would be great drama, Nick, and I would be a huge fan to watch that game, and I think, quite frankly, um, viewership would be really, really high for that. What I can tell you is I have a very low percentage feeling that that will happen because guys like Alex Cora are gonna say, "We're losing Friday no matter what." And so I'll throw May out there because he's not someone I anticipate doing well regardless of the opposition and their starting pitcher. So that's just like a white flag game. And he's gonna look at it and say, I can make that up by throwing my ace against the last place team in the American League East. And that's really the bottom line here. So while I would agree with you, I'd love the matchup. I just have a very probably less than 1% chance that they're gonna do that. But tickets are already sold, so there's nothing to sell more in that regard.
They
And
can
that's
sell more bricks. They can sell
yeah,
more sponsorship on Nesson. It'll inflate Sam Kennedy's ego a little bit more.
and that's the bottom line because Stone Cold said so. That's gonna wrap it
One
up.
last
Go ahead.
One more thing. One more thing very quickly. Did you
Sure.
know 10 years ago on this day, what happened in Red Sox history?
I saw that today.
I
Um,
can't believe it's been 10 years since
Nick
the Red
Kroko trade?
Sox. No, this is when Dave O'Brien, that leaked memo came out to all of us that said O'Brien's taking over for Orsillo. 10 years to the day right now. I can't believe it's been 10 years without Don. I really can't.
It's been a long time, and he looks great out there in San Diego.
And
So
he was just voted number 1 announcer from, what's it? Awful Baseball? What's it called?
there's been a few outlets that gave
Awful Announcing or something like that. It's like a parody thing.
he had he follows me on Twitter, and I'm a big Don fan, as many people know. And he had a picture of him holding some award. I forgot what the award was, but
Yeah, all his Emmys.
yeah, the Emmys. It kind of struck me as the Tom Brady ring thing, it's like this type of thing. So it was kind of cool. Hats off to you,
Kiss it,
Don.
Henry.
The Red Sox made a stupid, stupid move. But that's going to do it for tonight. Please go ahead and subscribe to our website and get a copy every day of our digital newsletter at redsoxdigest.com. The subscriptions are free. You can also donate to our cause and read up on Thayer's Fenway flashback, which we categorize and go over the 1975 Red Sox season, which has been great reading. It's fantastic. I highly recommend anyone who is a baseball purist or who just loves Red Sox history. Maybe you were alive at that time, maybe you were not, but it's a great read, and I look forward to reading them each and every day that he posts them on our website. Have a great night, everybody. We will be back on Thursday, I believe it is. Will be Thursday and Friday. Next week will be a attenuated week. I'll be away, so we still haven't figured out that schedule yet. But in any event, have a great night, everybody, and we will talk to you on Thursday.